Hello. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday live stream day or happy Aquarius New Moon whenever you're watching this. My hair is crazy. It's gotten to the awkward stage of like growing it back out because I'm pretty sure I want long hair again, but we're just going to go with it because what else are you going to do? Like wear a beanie for 6 months? I'd rather not. It's getting, some days you can't. Anyways, okay, we didn't come here to look at my hair. We came here to talk about the Aquarius new moon. So let's do that. This Aquarius new moon is coming up on January 21st. It is happening at 1 degree 32 minutes of Aquarius. New moons are always when the sun and the moon are both at the same exact spot in the sky. And it's once a month when the moon kind of like gets merged back within the sun, and then it makes another lap around, and then it merges back with the sun, and then it makes another lap around. So these new moons are like soul infusions as far as like something new coming up out of the depths, like bubbling up to the surface of who we are. And so it's new moons are probably my favorite, even above full moons, even though full moons are like manifestation and like getting the thing, kind of like the full-blown version of the thing. New moons are so much more exciting. I don't know. I'm a beginnings person, so maybe I'm biased there. But really, when we interpret a new moon, regardless of what sign it's in, it's really about thinking through and contemplating what is being infused. What is being infused into our soul when the moon is going to come together with the sun, this time in the sign of Aquarius. So, to unpack this, I really do want to kind of take it step by step on Aquarius energy and like what is at the heart of Aquarius energy. And we're going to get into that. But the very first thing I want to do is kind of like my overarching message of like what is the soul infusion of this new moon. And then we'll dive more into kind of unpacking this. But I think the piece that is jumping out at me the most is the ruler, the ancient ruler of Aquarius is Saturn, and the modern ruler being Jupiter. And the Saturn, the ancient ruler, is in Aquarius, like right now, and will still be there when it's this new moon. And at the time of the new moon, we have Venus 1 degree away from Saturn, the ruler of this new moon. And so it feels like a very head to head clash of, and again, we're going to get into where I'm getting all of this, but a clash between your own personal values and the values that you were taught are important. And so by that, I mean like kind of Saturn being tradition and convention, and Venus being our own personal pleasure, our own personal desires, our own personal stability, our tastes and preferences for things. To have them sitting side by side on a new moon that, as we'll see when we discuss Aquarius energy, is really about like, what is the individual mission that you came here to do that was going to contribute something larger to humanity, to like this global community that we live with, right? Like, especially in today's globalized age that we live in, thanks to the internet and like such easy transport, we really are a global community. And in Aquarius energy, very simply, we each have a piece to contribute to that larger community. And are we contributing it is one good question. Do we know what it is probably the better question, right? Like, depending on where you are in your process, maybe maybe you have some like collective, like a goal that serves the collective. Like, I'm doing this because of the impact that it's going to have on the all. Like, to have your vision or your intention rooted in that place of how your goal or your dream, your contribution is serving humanity is a very Aquarian, like high frequency of Aquarius energy kind of thing. And the fact that we have Venus and Saturn sitting side by side, I think, is going to bring us face to face with some mirrors in our life, mirrors meaning um, other people who can help us see the conventional wisdom that we were taught is true, and that somewhere inside of us that truth lingers, even though it contradicts with like our personal felt experience. Aquarius energy at its core is really this meeting place between our conditioned self and our fully authentic self. Our conditioned self, meaning who were we taught we should be? So, like our parents' expectations of us, society's expectations of us, gender roles fall into this, stereotypes for different races fall into this. Like, there's so much out there that the world wants to tell you about who you are, and when we're little, we have very little defenses to like not take that stuff in. So it's very normal that we all receive conditioning when we get here. We all get taught what we should do, and that's that kind of shadow side of Aquarius, is conventional wisdom being your script. The ancient ruler of Aquarius being Saturn. Saturn is much more the conventional wisdom. The modern ruler of Aquarius being Uranus is much more like your divine individuality, like a lightning strike that only exists once. It's you. You are fully unique, and the contribution you came here to make has never been seen before. So anybody, anybody trying to tell you who you should be or like where you should go in your life and what you should do, that just doesn't even make sense when you think about like how could they possibly know that? How could they know who you are and who you're supposed to be? And yet we all have little tidbits of our self-image that basically they're not coming from, they're not reflecting our authentic truth. They're reflecting who we were taught we should be. And it's super interesting. One little story to kind of like show what this can look like. I was having a conversation with Dolly this morning, and she and I were talking about how, like, just people kind of stepping past your boundaries. Okay. So, like, you're in the middle of a conversation and it doesn't really feel good, and the person is not getting the hint that I don't want to be in this conversation. And basically, the situation is requiring that you be a little bit more outspoken, uh, to like advocate for yourself and your boundaries. And Dolly made the observation that there's this one person that she comes into contact with, and when that person oversteps her boundaries, it's very easy to say what needs said. It's very clear cut. It's like just simple. And then this other person, more recently, when they overstep her boundaries, she was like paralyzed. She couldn't really say anything. She got really mad on the inside, but she didn't say anything. And then she went and got a different person who wasn't even in the situation to begin with to come and like take that person away from her rather than dealing with them directly. And so it just was like so interesting. Like, why would you be able to advocate for your boundaries in one situation with one person and yet with a different person you can't? And the answer, I think, I mean, I don't know this for sure, but what came to me was conditioning, because there's a couple different things going on there, I think, because one of the person where it's easier is female and younger than Dolly. And the person where it's harder is male and is much older than Dolly. So I feel like there's a gender thing and there's an age thing. And some things that come to mind are like respecting your elders is like one where in our culture, we're definitely beat down to like if someone is older, they outrank you, period. Like respect your elders, like even further back, like children are meant to be seen and not heard, like take our voice right away from us kind of thing. So there's all kinds of things that we get taught that like as we become adults, we don't even necessarily know that we have these rules inside of us until you go to advocate for yourself. And with this person it's easy, and with this person it feels impossible. And it's like, why would it be different? My boundary is the same. I don't like them overstepping it. Why would it be different to stand up for myself? And I think cultural expectations play a big part. like especially for girls, we're taught to be like made from sugar and spice and everything nice, and like we're all polite and you should smile more and you should have a more friendly tone and yada yada yada. Like we're conditioned to what we should be. And with this Aquarius new moon, we are being infused at a soul level with who we really are. And I'm predicting that we will see that more clearly than ever before, our individual essence of who we were born to be, through a mirror of someone who represents the conditioning that we were raised with. So we will have the opportunity to come face to face between the leading edge of who we currently are and maybe where we were coming from. It's almost like a right now meeting the past kind of eruption moment, you know, like gasoline plus fire, and you get like this big boom. It's like the component of how far you've come, how grounded you are in your right now, right here present moment. And like I want to feel good and I want to have a kind perspective and I want to stay in love with myself and as much as I can with others. And yet over here on the other hand, I'm also being told that like no matter how I feel on the inside, I should just put on this happy face and I should be kind and polite and all of these things. And with those expectations in the mix, my authentic flow is now being hindered and held back. And that's basically what we can understand between the Aquarius light frequency and the shadow frequency. Is in the light frequency of Aquarius, our authenticity flows. It guides us forward into the world. It is like the epitome of like wave your freak flag and let your fellow freaks find you. It's that idea. And they will, they absolutely will. And one way that we can understand the shadow of Aquarius, like those lower frequencies that don't feel so good, is that with those cultural expectations in the mix, our authenticity can't flow. Our individuality is being held back. It's being pushed down into the depths of who we are instead of being allowed to come up and out of our surface. We're not allowing ourselves to express our individuality, and that keeps us in the shadow side of Aquarius. And I would say, like, the two ends, the two extremes of Aquarius, like, on one end, we have that Saturn kind of archetype of following conventional wisdom no matter what. Like, I think of like extreme beliefs, extreme, like, respect for the establishment, even in the face of, like, evidence that the establishment is not serving the good of the all. Like, but it's the establishment, like, "Don't fix what ain't broke," but it is broke. Well, it's what we've got, so we better just keep going with it. Like, that just, like, staying with what you have because that's what you have. And in the other extreme, there's like almost like a revolutionary spirit for Aquarius in its highest form, where it doesn't matter who's on the opposing side. It doesn't matter what establishment we're talking about, what big business, what powerful entity is on the other side that's taking up the opposing viewpoint. I know, because I'm channeling it from inside my soul, that this is the mission I came with. That there's usually some, when we're talking about like humanitarian missions, we're talking about like feeding more people on the planet or saving the planet itself, like for humanity, or like whatever might give a better quality of life to the all, to everyone. That's kind of the balance that you see with the sister sign of Aquarius, which is Leo. And when we look at Leo and Aquarius, like Leo is an energy. And remember, when we're talking about energies, it's all neutral. It's none of it is good or bad. Like none of it is, oh, this is the best one and that's the worst one. Like there, I don't believe in that. You can, but I don't. And so when I'm talking about Leo energy, it's the words that you use to talk about it, it sounds negative and it's not. But Leo is an egotistical energy, it's a self centered energy. And what I mean by that is the individual is at the center. And so when you think, or when you're looking through a Leo lens, the question is like, what do you want? What do you personally want? And you assert your will to make that happen. And that's a pretty clean and like clean cut energy. Maybe I'm biased. I'm a Leo moon. So like that energy comes really easily to me of like, this is what I want. So I'm gonna make it happen for myself. Um, and so ego, like what does the individual want? And we'll contrast that then with Aquarius energy, where Aquarius viewpoint, when you're looking through that Aquarius energy lens, the individual is no longer at the center of the viewpoint. The viewpoint is encompassing the all. The viewpoint is encompassing humanity. So it's detached from the individual's needs or wants or desires or ego driven anything, and is more looking at what does humanity need. One of the things about Aquarius energy is it's very observant, very insightful, can notice patterns and trends within the collective faster than any other energy. That's one of its superpowers, is how observant it is. And the reason for that is because it's here to invent solutions. It's here to channel those individual contributions, those individual pieces that add up to a better quality of life for more people on this planet. It's like, again, when you put it next to Leo and Aquarius, like I gotta think most people are like, yep, Aquarius, that's me. I'm that one. And it's like we need both. We really truly do need both, because, and that's what we'll see 2 weeks later when we get to the Leo full moon, is that when it comes to this balance of energy, how you would go about using both and like really making the best out of both of these is, especially since we're coming from the Aquarius new moon side, we'll start on the Aquarius side of having an infused vision into our soul of what is our individual contribution to the collective. What can we personally add that will serve humanity, or at minimum, our community around us? There is a solution that will be trying to make its way through us. And it's very important that we heed that call and that we deliver that piece. But once you have that vision, once you have that picture of this is what I'm going to contribute, almost instantly, you got to bring in your Leo energy. That is the force that says, I will have this. I will have this. And at that point, you're asserting your will, your ego drive onto like the picture of what is your collective contribution, what is your individual contribution to the collective humanity. And it's that Leo force that will push the Aquarius vision out into the world. But Leo can't see the vision. Leo can't get there because Leo can only see themselves in the center. And again, that's not wrong. It's a superpower to be able to point your finger at something and then manifest it for yourself. And that's what Leo can do. But Leo's second in this particular energy. When we get to August and we're talking about the Leo new moon, we'll have a different conversation. But with this one, the Aquarius new moon, we have to take ourselves out of the center and we have to look at what is unfolding in this larger picture. What does the world need? And how could I possibly invent something to help meet that need? And I'm going to give you my own personal translation of like my own Aquarius vision, my own Aquarius roots of my vision of like, what am I doing like for owning authenticity? Since we're here gathered around this space, maybe this will help bring something into context. And before I share, I do want to share the only Aquarius placement that I have is in my draconic natal chart, which is, or my draconic chart, I guess you would say, which is, it's like an underlying chart to your natal chart. And rather than showing your day to day energy, like what your natal chart shows, it shows the soul level intention behind why you chose the energy that you chose. So it's like a whole nother natal chart and a whole nother layer of understanding your energy. So that chart has my only Aquarius placement, and my midheaven on my draconic chart is at 0 degrees Aquarius. So this new moon is also happening like right there at the very beginning of my 10th house. My sole intention for why did I come here? Why did I want to have the random ass energy that I have? Why did I need this unique energy? I think I'm about to find out. So I'm like super excited for this Aquarius new moon. Um, so what I understand currently, and maybe at some point I can do a follow up and share like what did, infuse into my soul on this Aquarius new moon. But what I understand so far, I stepped foot on my spiritual path about 6.5 years ago. And the teacher who initiated me into my spiritual path is Abraham Hicks. And a couple months into uh, listening to Abraham, I received a download that what it said, and again, if you're not familiar with Abraham Hicks, maybe this isn't quite as impactful, but this is my definition of my Aquarius roots of my vision. It said, you're not here to be Abraham. You're here to activate thousands of Abrahams. You're not here to be Abraham. You're here to activate thousands of Abrahams. And the reason for that, it's like every single person needs to hear something a little bit different. And if there are thousands of Abrahams on this planet, like similar to what Abraham Hicks has done, their body of work where they've spent decades like explaining it the way they know how to explain it. And I've introduced enough people to Abraham over the years to know that not everybody can hear what they're saying. Like, not everybody can hear Abraham. Not everybody is moved by what Abraham is saying. And I was, and I'm super grateful. But in that way, I don't want to just be a spiritual teacher. I want to activate thousands of spiritual teachers. I want to activate thousands of storytellers and sharers onto this planet who will share their own unique version. And the people who can hear it that way will find them and will be moved forward thanks to their sharing. And not everybody will be able to hear what they say, just like not everybody can hear Abraham, just like not everybody can hear me. Like there is a niche for each of us. There's room for all of us. And so it's this bigger picture of like, I don't want to just speak to the people who I can help. I want to help other people who are going to help other people who are going to help other people who, like, I want to push that snowball down the hill with as many different people as I possibly can. I want to do anything that I can to help them get out there and start sharing their own message. I don't see it as a competition as far as like, well, if they're out in the world, then people are less likely to listen to me. I'm like, no, there's people who are only going to hear what I'm saying. There's people who are only going to hear what they're saying. And I don't need like to take the Leo versus Aquarius side, like the Leo ego side. I don't need the ego trip of like, I'm going to heal every person on the planet. I just want people to be healed. I just want people to suffer less. I want people to feel better inside their lives. And with more people sending that energy out into the world, more people offering more ideas, more solutions on how can we feel better and better and better. With more people doing that, it's more likely that more people will be able to hear. And so the humanity level vision of more people feeling better and how can I help? I can tell my story. I can show up on my live streams every other Friday. I can record my revelations and the little pieces that are helping me to feel better, and I can share them out into the world in case they help anybody else to feel better. Like, again, it's not about me being told what a good girl I am, although my Leo moon absolutely adores that as well. Like nobody loves positive feedback more than me. I'm just almost sure of it. But that's not where I'm coming from. That's not the root of like, why am I doing this in the first place? And that's the distinction that I think is going to get lit up for us on the Aquarius new moon, is to be confronted with like some kind of need that humanity has, like you're going to be able to see. Like the thing about Aquarius energy is that it's almost always ahead of its time, meaning you can personally see something that other people are acting like it's not there. like 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 the early people talking about climate change, and a little bit even still the people talking about climate change, and the opposing viewpoint of that's not real. Climate change is a myth. Like this is the Saturn versus Venus kind of opposition that I'm seeing, as far as like there is a strong opponent. There's a very convincing opponent that you are coming into contact with, but that doesn't change what you can feel to be true. And for my example, like I would put this into the category of like, feedback that I've gotten where my like indulging this hobby, it's basically what it is, since it doesn't like really earn me income, kind of a little bit, I guess. That's not technically true. If you can count $20 a month as income, then yes, I earn an income from this. But like that's not why I'm doing it. Ego satisfaction and gratification is not why I'm doing it. Like there's a higher calling to why I share and why I push past my own fear of my own vulnerability to continue to demonstrate what that looks like, to be open and authentic and transparent. Like I do it, yes, for my own healing journey, absolutely, but also to stoke the fires of like, when we see somebody else being free, like what we want to be, we're more likely to move in that direction. When we see other people following the rules, we're more likely to follow the rules that they're following. Like there's just something about the human brain, and I think it's like to do with the mirror neurons. I mean, I'm not a scientist even close. So, but we like that quote that says we become like the 5 people we spend the most time around. So, Aquarius New Moon, ooh, that's a good one. That's a really good suggestion of like take a look at who are the 5 people that you spend the most time around, and those could be people online. Those could be like for me, one of the people that I spend the most time with, her name is Reem, and she has a YouTube channel called White Feather Tarot. And I spend hours with her almost every single day because her energy feels so good. Her outlook is so fun to look through. Her influence feels so good in my system. Even when she is a little tough, it's still so loving. Like it's just so easy to be encouraged by her. And listening to her has definitely like already started to rub off on me too. And so, yeah, like really take stock of who are the 5 people that you spend the most time with, whether you know them in real life or not. And do you like that you are, I mean, it's just science with the mirror neurons, like I said, but like you are becoming more like them. And are they helping you to rise to this humanitarian mission that you're here to do? Or are they keeping you stuck inside of some of that ancient cultural conditioning that maybe you were taught to respect? Saturn being very, very much about respect and authority, and again, the status quo. And Venus being like, I just want to feel good. I just want to feel good. Like, let that Venus element in the mix. Like, I'm so excited to see how that's going to play out, but let that element in the mix of like pleasure seeking. Oh my gosh, this is so crazy. uh, let the pleasure seeking, like I'm starting to feel like what's that guy's name? Krusty the Clown on The Simpsons. Is anybody else seeing that? Okay. Again, we didn't come to look here. Look at my hair. Okay. What was I saying? This is what I get for getting distracted. It doesn't matter. Let's go to the Aquarius keywords. So I have like just kind of a rapid fire list of like when we're talking about Aquarius energy, what are we talking about? And I think the best word, like if we're gonna sum up Aquarius in one word, is unorthodox. Unorthodox. I love this word for Aquarius because it encapsulates the individuality. It encapsulates the ahead of its time-ness. It also is like innovative and genius. And when we say genius, like maybe that sounds like a compliment. A lot of times, though, geniuses are some of the most misunderstood people on the face of the planet because, again, they're seeing things that other people simply can't see. The goal of Aquarius energy is very similar, I would say, to Maslow's hierarchy of needs and that top piece of what are we as humans here to do? Like, what is the top of our needs that we're here to meet? And that is self-actualization. Self-actualization. So in the Aquarius spirit, allowing whatever is authentic and whatever is calling from inside of you to flow forth, even if other people don't understand it, even if other people call you crazy, even if other people tell you it's not worth your time, only you can know the answers to those things. Aquarius is very tuned into the future and specifically the future of humanity. So again, it's always on the lookout. It's very observant for like, what does humanity need and how can I help? I'm here. I'm physical. How can I help? How can I use my time in this life to serve the quality of life on this planet for the global community? Of course, we can only ever play our individual part. And the individual part, what we came here to do, as far as what did we come here to contribute, the code for understanding that is very much baked into whatever our authentic self is. However, we're wired, the things that come most naturally to us, those are the tools and the skill sets and the pieces and the clues of like, what does your individual contribution look like? Some people, you know, are here like inventing different kinds of rockets. So maybe we could move to Mars someday and establish a colony. Like maybe that is your individual contribution. Who the hell knows? Maybe your individual contribution is to be a ballerina and to dance in some random company and allow people to come to those shows and have a brief reprieve from the day to day mundane heaviness of their lives and to sit for even an hour or two in awe of something that is beyond this world, a level of beauty and peace and serenity that when you watch ballerinas, like that's what I get from it anyway. And so like to bring that beauty and that peace and that moment into the world, like maybe that's your individual contribution because when those people leave that performance, they're more relaxed, they now have this image of beauty at the front of their mind. Like that is an individual contribution. So it doesn't have to look like rocket science necessarily to draw on the individual piece that you came here to contribute. When we are contributing our individual pieces, our soul tribe gathers around us. And that's how we find them is we start contributing our individual piece. And then our soul tribe gathers around that energy. And if you're surrounded by people who chronically misunderstand you, or they chronically are trying to push you into a box and get you to be a certain way, that's a very clear sign that these people are not your soul tribe. And at that point, I would look back to what is it that you're contributing? Because if you're contributing energy to the status quo, then you're going to attract other people who are also contributing energy to the status quo, meaning they're trying to continue these boxes and you have to get in the box, same as they have to get in the box. And if you're flowing with your uninhibited individuality and you are allowing your authentic self to be seen in this world, people who resonate with that will gather around you. They will absolutely have no choice because law of attraction means that like attracts like. So, sometimes every once in a while, I hear people talking about like that's their goal is to find their soul tribe. And I would invite you on this Aquarius new moon to take a step back from that intention and think a little bit more deeply around what is your individual contribution to humanity, because that's where your soul tribe is. So, in terms of how do you find them, you don't. You find your individual contribution and then you find them doing something very similar to what you're doing. So, this Aquarius energy is your individual calling. It is nothing that a single other person on this planet can tell to you. That is like one of the mysteries of Aquarius energy. That's like one of the beauties of Aquarius energy is that you have to find that answer inside of yourself. That's the nature of the uniqueness that each of us are. Aquarius also has to do with group dynamics, and this is kind of where that soul tribe piece comes in. A group meaning 3 plus. Libra is much more the dynamics of a one-to-one relationship, and Aquarius is more the group where it's 3 or more people. And within the group, this is another way you can tell if the people that you're around is a member of your soul tribe. If you speak up with your authenticity, you speak up with your individual perspective, your observation of like, well, here's what I can see. I think we need to do XYZ. And if the people around you climb your tree and tell you to STFU and like shut you down, then like basically they don't resonate. They're not a member of your soul tribe. They just aren't. They're not here to contribute something that is aligned with what you came to contribute. And very much on the other end of the spectrum, if you speak up with your individuality, your individual observation of the situation, you're like, hey, I know we're not there yet, but within the next couple of years, like this is going to be a problem. And people are like, oh my gosh, yeah, you're so right. What are we going to do about it? How can we put our heads together? How can we brainstorm? Those are your soul tribe. They can see into the future to the same place that you can see. And again, the reason for that is because the individual pieces that you each came to contribute are in harmony. They're aligned with each other. They're pointed to the same solution as each other. And not all of us are meant to work together. Like if somebody doesn't resonate with what you're here to do, let them go and let them go work on the piece that they came here for. Let them find other people who are going to help them with that piece. If someone doesn't want to help you with your mission, there's nothing personal in that. And if anything, that's where Aquarius energy can be really helpful to detach from our ego. Our ego is the one that says, they don't want to be a part of my mission. They rejected me. It's like, dude, that's their prerogative. They're not on the same mission as you're on. Like when you detach and you look at the bigger picture of like the bigger unfolding that is serving humanity in the way that everything is unfolding, there is a very divine fabric that ties together the people who are meant to work together and the people who are not. And the ones who reject us aren't meant to work with us. So, do yourself a favor and go to the Aquarius side of that detachment and look at it as they are clearly not a member of my soul tribe, meaning they belong in somebody else's soul tribe. I'm not going to hold them up any more than I already have. I wish them well and I send them on their way. And I remain open for the ones who resonate with me and this individual mission, this individual contribution that I came to make to the greater good, because it's important. It's the most important. When you get to the top frequency of Aquarius, that's where that revolutionary energy lies, where I don't care who my opposition is. Like, I think about like Jack and the Beanstalk and like the, or no, David and Goliath, where like David's like, I mean, I know he's big, but I think I can take him. And he did. It was fine. Like that's like that. It's like knowing the rightness, knowing the divinity of this is what I was born for. So any opposition that I do meet along my path is just to help me realize how much bigger I even am than what I already knew I was. It's divine. It's divinely intended when we do meet that opposition. And with Venus sitting right next to Saturn during this new moon, I think it's entirely possible that we could meet some opposition that helps us to see even more clearly who we really are. So, to recap, Aquarius, the light frequency is what your inner self is calling forward out of you. So, what is that higher calling? What is the individual piece that you came to contribute to the whole? As opposed to the Aquarius shadow, which is all about what do you think you should be doing? Like what should be happening in your life right now? Aquarius shadow has a very rigid idea of where it should be at the time it should be there, instead of opening up to this higher unfolding that isn't about you. It's about the all. we're only here to play our part for the all. And yes, we're having our individual experience. And again, when we get to the Leo new moon, we'll have a very different conversation. But right now, the realization is that we are a part of something bigger. And that if we are feeling hurt by other people rejecting us, or we're feeling dissatisfied with what's in our life right now, we can rest assured that it wouldn't be here, it wouldn't be happening this way if it wasn't part of our higher mission, of our higher calling. Like, we need this piece in order to be able to do effectively what we came here to do. So, like on this Aquarius new moon and then leading up to the Leo full moon a couple weeks later, it is a good time to think between those two ends of that spectrum of Aquarius being detached and really observing from that detached place, as opposed to Leo is like right in the center of it with the ego and like looking around at everything through the lens of the self. And I think we can really feel our way back and forth when we start digging down into where is your motivation coming from? Where's the intention coming from? Like, is the intention coming from recognition and validation? If so, that's an ego motivation. Nothing wrong with that. It just is. That's the Leo side. As opposed to, if you can see a way where you can make life better for possibly every single person on this planet, why would you not do that? Why would you not do that? Like, my only understanding is that the people who don't do that, they just don't see it yet. They don't see how they could personally contribute, and so they're not. And that's not their fault. They just can't see it. And I think part of why some people can't see it is that they're stuck in that egocentric place where they're looking at everything through, what do I get out of this? What's in it for me? And it's like, when you dip into that Aquarius side of the equation and your higher calling, I mean, yes, it has to do with you. Like, when you save the planet, for example, you get to continue living on a planet that's not dead. Like, that's definitely got a benefit for you, but it's not going to only benefit you. It's going to benefit everyone. This higher calling, this bigger piece that you're here to contribute. So I personally, like I said, I'm very excited for this Aquarius new moon on January 21st. Um, Very excited to see possibly the next step, possibly just a greater level of clarity around what it is that I'm already intending, what it is I'm already doing. I'm very excited to hear from you guys as far as, like, one, do you already operate from like a higher calling intention that is serving the good of the all? And if not, leaning in that direction, what do you feel opening up? There are, like, it really does begin with that Aquarius talent for observation and looking at the world not from a place of complaining and saying what's wrong with it, but like, what are the gaps? What's the problem? And what could be the solution? And how are you personally going to bring that solution about? Right? Like, I think in the Aquarius shadow, there's the status quo. And so there's a lot of like kicking the can down the road as far as making the improvements. And it's like nobody wants to make the improvements. They only want to demand the improvements. And in the highest frequency of Aquarius, you just make the improvement yourself. You just dedicate your life to doing the work that needs done instead of worrying about who's going to give me the credit for this. Where's my award? Where's my money? Where's my, gratification? Like, all of that. We do it for this higher reason, this soul level calling that comes to us through the center of our being, not from anybody else. And there is a lot of deconditioning that has to go on for us to get that far outside of our ego to be able to detach and see it from this bigger picture. Obviously, those people who have like stronger Aquarius energy, like just a more dominant Aquarius energy, have an easier time taking themselves out of the middle of their contemplations and looking at it from that detached viewpoint. But especially if you have a lot of Leo energy, that could be difficult. A lot of fixed energy in general could also make it difficult, again, because you would be more likely to demand the way it is, as opposed to opening up and accepting that there is a bigger unfolding that has nothing to do with you and your demands. It has everything to do with serving the quality of life on this planet. So there could be a spectrum of experiences as far as how this Aquarius new moon lands for you. And I would love to hear. I enjoy my Gemini energy, enjoys hearing other people's viewpoints and perspectives, and how the pieces come together for each of us is always so unique. So if you feel like sharing with me down below, you go ahead. Otherwise, I have a couple things that I want to announce, and one of them is a new mini program that I just built all the things for here a couple days ago. And it is a three-part journey into the gene keys. So we will be looking at how to unpack your gene keys chart. The page that Fola just shared there, thank you so much, is all of the information that I could think to share about this program. If you have questions, my email's on there too. But it is going to look at the three different paths that are included in the gene keys. So the gene keys chart starts with your activation sequence, and then the Venus sequence, and then the Pearl sequence. So we will cover the activation, Venus, and Pearl in three different sessions so that we can spend 2 hours on each one and really look at what does each bubble on the chart represent. The lines between the bubbles are called pathways, and each pathway has its own vibe, its own meaning in your chart. And when you get to the very end, the pearl sequence is basically Aquarius energy. It's basically the culmination of like, what did you come here to do? What, like, again, a lot of people I hear like ask me like, they need more money or they need to make more money or whatever. And it's like, when you subscribe to the gene keys, it's like prosperity comes out of the pearl sequence. That's like what the pearl is all about, is manifesting prosperity in this world. And manifesting your soul tribe could be one individual form of prosperity. But the trick to manifesting prosperity is to be doing what your soul came here to do, to like do your mission and contribute your piece. And your soul tribe is waiting for you in that place. All the money you could ever need is waiting for you in that place. But we don't just get there, right? Like the pearl sequence is the third sequence after all of this other traveling through your energy. Then you get to the pearl, because again, doing our soul's mission, it has to heal and get so much of our shadow transmuted into light. So many different pieces of our shadow have to transmute before we're ready to do our vocation, is the first bubble on the prosperity on the pearl sequence. Our vocation is like, what is the work that you came here to do? Not just like the work that is going to earn you money and pay your rent or buy you a house or a boat or some other fancy whatever. That's not what your vocation is about. Your vocation is very Aquarian in terms of what is the work your soul came here to do. And the work your soul came here to do is transmuting the shadow of your vocation into the light frequency of your vocation. And like, for example, my vocation, the shadow is greed, greed. So my work in this lifetime is to transmute the shadow of greed into the gift of aspiration. And that's where the gene keys uses some words that are definitely like outside of our like common vocabulary, at least they are for me. And I love that, because you don't automatically like have a whole bunch of context around like what it is. I mean, greed obviously has like a whole cultural story. Um, but like that made so much sense when I saw that, and like then to connect that back to like a big chunk of my divine disgust centers around corporate greed and big business and monopolies and all of these like collusion efforts where the big guys get together and screw over 99% of the rest of us that are here. And so transmuting greed into aspiration, and aspiration is definitely interesting when you contrast it with greed, because greed says more, 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 like endlessly more. But so does aspiration. Aspiration is never done. Aspiration wants more. Aspiration is about aspiring to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. But again, it comes back to Aquarius energy, I think, as far as like Greed is that Aquarian shadow of like almost keeping up with the Joneses and like, I want to be the richest man alive, or I want to be like the world's youngest billionaire, or like a status symbol of like, I need more because I want the status that goes along with it, as opposed to the Aquarian, like the light end, the highest frequency end that says, I can do more. I can give more. I see more gaps that I personally could try to fill. I could I could grow myself and I could offer this. I've never offered a program on Gene Keys before. Let me do that. I'll have to learn and I'll have to create it and I'll have to work on it and put some effort into it, but I could do that. I could offer that. I could create this space that wasn't there before and let people who are ready come into it and take from it whatever they need to take from it. So aspiration, like I could do this and then I could do this. And I'm like, that's very much me. Like I'm never really done, but it has been an interesting journey. Like more in my 20s, I was absolutely like seeking promotions because they came with raises. And like I wanted more money. Like that was very much where I was. And by the time I stepped foot onto my spiritual path, I only stayed at that job for another 6 months. And ever since then, I've come at it from a place of like, I'll let life pay me in satisfaction. I mean, I took like 100% pay cut to be intentionally unemployed for 5 months because I don't care how much this job is paying me, six figures or not. It's sucking my soul. To participate in this status quo is hurting me. And it was a corporate job. And it makes so much sense now, as far as like what we said, like if you detach from the ego and you look at this bigger picture, even when you're experiencing things that don't feel good, you still have the capacity to see that there's something bigger unfolding here. There's something more. This isn't about you. Like again, this is the Aquarius energy of like, yes, I worked at that software company for 5.5 years, and I felt many times like they were mistreating us, or like, why are they treating me this way? Why don't they appreciate me? Why don't they understand me? Why don't they value me? And like I had to go through that to kind of get a sense of like, what am I up against? Like, how does corporate greed work? How does it ripple? What does it cause inside of those companies? Like, how does the cancer spread? Why is it like this? Like I got to study it from the inside out for 5.5 years, and it was hard to look at, but I'm so glad. I wouldn't trade those 5.5 years for anything. And if anything, that became my basis of like my mission. What am I here to do? I'm developing new business standards that don't sound like that. That's one piece. I'm activating Abrahams. I'm developing new business standards. Like, who knows if any of it is really doing anything? But I'm living from these soul level intentions of like, I can do this. I can take what I have and I can repackage it into an offering of some kind that is intended to serve the greater good, the collective, as best I possibly can think to do. So this program is kind of like a taking a little bit of a pivot off of the book club that is also wrapping up tomorrow. Even if you missed the first 3 segments, I would still love to have you at this book club. If you're interested in catching up or just watching the 4 segments, I also think The Way of Integrity by Martha Beck, which is our book that we're doing, is very helpful for, again, like getting the conditioning. She calls them demons in the book, getting your conditioning into its place, where you realize like, no, that's just what they taught me. This is who I really am. And so the Way of Integrity, living in integrity with your true self, is super helpful, I think, for these Aquarius energies that we're in. So that is another option. That book club has been free to join, and we did that on the first Saturday of every month. So the first yeah, so this is the last piece tomorrow, January 7th, is the last piece of the book club. And then we'll start the Gene Keys program on February 4th. That's the first Saturday in February. We'll have it start at 11 a.m. Central Time. It'll go for 2 hours, and that'll be the activation sequence. And then at the beginning of March, March 4th, the first Saturday, 11 to 1 Central Time will be the Venus sequence, and then April 1st will be the Pearl sequence. So if you're interested in taking that journey with us, I would love to have you. I did this is a paid space, so there is a fee, but I did it so you can sign up for all three and you get a slight price break, or you can just sign up for the piece that you want. So if you want to pop into one and not the others, or two out of the three, that's between you and you. There is a link on the website that Full is shared in the chat. You can either sign up for one event at a time, or you can pay through this other link where it'll give you the full package and the discount. So again, if you have any questions with that, don't hesitate to reach out at owningauthenticity@gmail.com is my email address. I have been Oh, yeah. Jody says, so excited for your take on the gene keys. I know I'll get wisdom from your perspective on them. Thank you, Jody. I would love it if you would be there, but no big deal. Ooh, that actually reminds me. I love hanging out with you guys. I get so excited when we're together. Um, that reminds me, attendance is not required to sign up for the program. Like sometimes I hear that my events, like I have people in Australia and stuff like that, like halfway around the world watching my stuff, and they're like, the time zone's obviously not going to work, but attendance is not required. Like I know it would be awesome if you could be there, but even if you sign up for these sessions, I will email you the recording, and the recordings are only going to be shared with the people who signed up. So these won't be publicly shared like what the book club was. Um, so even if Saturdays from 11 to 1 Central Time don't work for you, you can still sign up for the program and get the sessions. The sessions themselves, I don't have this like written in stone or anything yet, but since we have 2 hours, I really want to make it a mixture of kind of like the coaching sessions from my group coaching program that I'm just finishing up, but kind of a mixture of teaching and exercises where you have time within the space to like reflect and kind of go deeper into your own. And then we also have time for sharing. So you get to hear different people's perspectives on different things. Um, so each, like on the activation sequence, for example, we're going to cover each of the four bubbles on the activation sequence. So, like, what does each bubble represent? And then we'll also talk about the three pathways that are on the activation sequence and do some prompts and some questions kind of like in the space to help you personalize and ground the information into your own chart. So we won't have a ton of time to look at individual charts. That being said, I think we'll have at least half an hour at the end that's just kind of a Q&A at the end of each space. So at that point, if you have questions about your unique chart, or like, I just don't get this shadow, like, what do you think it's referencing? I'll have all my books. I'm not an expert on every single gene key, but I'll do my best to give you at least a little bit of insight as best I can. So there will be time for individual questions, but I say all that to say, even if you're not able to attend, I would imagine you'll be able to get a lot from what's inside the session just by watching the recording. So even if you want to sign up knowing you could go on Saturdays, but I'd rather watch them on Tuesday mornings, cool with me. Sounds good. So I would love to have everybody there who is wanting to join. But that being said, yes, we will have our book club tomorrow, January 7th. That'll be the last book club in the series for The Way of Integrity. Next month, we'll flip to the Gene Keys program. Our Sacred Circle, I know Kayla Fola put the link for the Sacred Circle on the Patreon in the chat as well. The January Sacred Circle is going to be on January 24th. Yes, there are 5 Tuesdays in January. It's always on the 4th Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central Time. And that's another one where even if you're not in our time zone and you want to sign up on the Patreon just so you can watch the recording at your leisure, those sacred circles are recorded, but same as this Gene Keys program is going to be, the recording is only posted to the Patreon. So that's a very safe, protected space. Like I don't share those conversations with anybody who hasn't intentionally decided to be there, so that everyone who does come into that space feels as comfortable as possible sharing whatever it is that they need to share. So those, I think, wrap up my announcements. I didn't make a list, but I'm sure that's good enough for right now. That was quite a bit. I'm so excited. I couldn't help it. I'm so excited for the Gene Keys program. When we went through the group coaching program that I did over the last half of 2022, we looked at 5 different tools or modalities for building self awareness, and the Gene Keys was just one of them. Um, but when we went through it, like I dove back into Gene Keys to kind of like prep that session. And then I didn't want to come out when it was over. So I've been holding on to this intention loosely that like I think the next thing I want to do is like a deeper dive into the Gene Keys. And I love this little 3-part program once a month. I just think it's going to be so much fun. So if that sounds enticing to you, please at least check out what's on the website, learn a little bit more, see if it's a good fit for you. I will be back for my next live stream in 2 weeks on January 20th, when I talk about, gosh dang it, that'll be the Leo full moon. Yeah, we'll talk about the Leo full moon. So thank you so much for everyone who was here and joined me in person. If you caught the replay, thank you for that as well. Uh, I think, oh, no, 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 one more thing. So many, one more things. The last thing I thought, I obviously almost forgot, but I did remember. So I just released, I think it should be done uploading by now. Oh, it sure is. I just released on my second channel, Moon Mirror Tarot, this morning. Since today is the Cancer full moon on the day that I'm recording this morning I did a reading for Mother Moon to share on Moon Mirror Tarot, talking about what nurturing do you need right now? What nurturing do you need to hear right now? And the 3 piles were very different. They were completely different, which is just so fun to see how that energy unfolds. But there's a new pick a card reading or pick a pile reading available as of this morning. So, yes, Fola put the link there as well. So, check that out if you are so inspired. And until next time, I do hope that you will take such good care of the beautiful individual that you are. And so will I. Okay. Okay. Bye.